Hey everybody, welcome to 3 Hour Permaculture. This week we're going to be doing a little bit of a comparison between three different potting or seeding mediums. Basically what we're looking at is what I had available out here in terms of seeding mediums. On the far left here we can see CP, that stands for cow poop. That is nothing but dried cow patties that I've picked up around here. And once they were dry, I kind of ground them up and planted seeds into them. The reason for that is a long time ago I saw a video on YouTube talking about some sort of Indian Hindu type technique of using cow patties for seeding and how it worked much better than compost, and I thought, well, let's give it a shot, who knows. In the middle here I have straight compost, CM compost, and then over here I have a mix of compost and cow poop. Now, a little bit of word about this compost. This is my first compost pile out here. It's the only one I have so far. It was not a very good compost pile, so this is really not a great comparison, but still it should give us some indication. In this compost pile, I was lacking a lot of brown materials and a fair amount of greens. I had a fair amount of cow manure to start out with, and had some browns, but getting greens was actually the most difficult thing. And the browns I had were more stick form. I didn't have anyone to grind them up, so they're there. They're pretty chunky though, but it's been sitting there for well over a year, probably a year and a half, so it's definitely well composted. But it did lose a lot of volume, so it was sitting out here under a tarp. The cows started eating at the tarp and it just got rained on a lot, so it's not the most nutritious compost out there, so this may not be the best comparison, but it's interesting to see what at least happened. This is not a scientific study. If this is real science, we'd have to be doing this on a much bigger scale with a lot more things, but at least gives me an idea how to compare what I got with what I have in my particular context. And I think it's always good to be experimenting what works for you. Just because it worked for me doesn't mean it's going to work for you. So try out, and then with your successes, build on those, and then come back to your failures and see if you can make them better and go from there. So as you can see, I have mostly seeds that I've done for the herb spiral. So I have peppermint, I've got oregano, sage, thyme, and dill, and then I do have some basil sitting in the very back. And you can see with the thyme, it was very difficult with those very tiny thyme seeds to try to get, sorry about that, to get a very good idea of the amount of seeds that's going there. So I have a lot of thyme seeds everywhere. But just general comparison, I think you can tell that the mixed is producing much better than everything else. The dill was very prolific. It grew very quickly in all three cases. And actually I had to trim back the amount of dill. I'm about to do that also as well with the sage and the thyme and the oregano. As you can see, there's a lot of oregano seeds coming up in that mixed batch. Also in the mix, you can see this little guy back here. This is definitely not sage. This is something else, has no flavor. This is just a weed. So we do have some weeds in this mixed bit. And I don't know if that's coming from the cow poop or just the compost that's been sitting out there. But this is a little comparison. I'm gonna in the future try with my mixed for the rest of the year, see how that goes, and then maybe when I have a new set of compost for this next year, hopefully with lots more greens and better stuff, I can kind of run this comparison again to see how I'm looking. But yeah, this is basically it. So I'm going to start seeding out some more things for other beds I got. So I'll start seeding out my vegetables, lettuce, and some greens to begin with, and then I'll get into my other vegetables like tomatoes, peppers, and all those